The Odyssey is a 2,000-year-old epic poem that was told through oral storytelling. Its purpose was to tell a long narrative of epic hero Odysseus and his Nostos, homecoming. Poetry spoke of great stories between the interaction of gods and humans in war and battle. The use of song showcased the beauty of goddesses' voices and luring melodies of mythical creatures. Storytelling connected people of all ages and shaped the history of ancient Greece. Ulysses 31 is an 80s space children's animation series set in the 31st century. It is an appropriation of Homer's The Odyssey. Ulysses 31 captures main elements of the epic, aiming to engage a younger audience in a modernizing world through cartoon. Ulysses 31 follows the perilous journey of superhero Ulysses, his son Telemachus and alien friend Yumi, as they travel through Galaxy Olympus to get back home. In Ulysses 31, islands and monsters become planets. Ulysses' ship becomes a spaceship called the Odyssey, and other characters become robotic figures to fit the futuristic space setting. The mesh of sci-fi and Greek mythology in Ulysses 31 was a big change to the original text. Only a few years before the release of Ulysses 31, a modern epic, Star Wars, was becoming increasingly popular within the Western audience. Mixing Star Wars with Greek myth awakened a fascination for Greek mythology and educated young people about gods and goddesses like Zeus, Orpheus and Eurydice, and the riddle of the Sphinx. The 24 books within the Odyssey were presented through poetry, song and music, describing the ancient Greek life and mythology. The story begins in Medias Res, in the middle, where Odysseus is held hostage by Calypso. Books 9 to 12 outline the challenges Odysseus has with monsters, Hades, and the wrath of Poseidon. Ulysses 31 closely follows the plot of the Odyssey, as it too begins in Medias Res, and a great journey is undertaken. Both texts use the function of sound to draw in groups of people to listen to the story. Ulysses 31 includes sound effects, an awesome catchy theme tune, sounds of laser guns and flying spaceships in battle scenes, and the doom-laden march of the gods creates tension and builds excitement. First viewing Ulysses 31, you wouldn't suspect that a kid's cartoon might contain a few dark and violent moments in the plot. However, looking closer, there are gods who evilly manipulate Ulysses' crew, turning them into crazed zombies trying to crash the ship, and a powerful wizard demands to hunt 3 best men among his crew after breaking the god's curse. These moments reflect the sometimes dark and violent nature of the original text, suggesting that these elements are significant to the representation of Odysseus' journey. Odysseus is a violent man who battles sea monsters and slaughters suitors who threaten to take over his household by slashing away with swords, with 2-edged spears. Xenia is highly emphasized in the Odyssey, as it was a set of social customs and manners universally followed in ancient Greece to keep peace and order. Hosts had to be hospitable to anyone, whether god or beggar, by providing food and safe escort, and guests had to be courteous and give something in return. The Odyssey reveals the processes in which the guest-host relationship is developed, whereas in Ulysses 31, Xenia is not as strong a focus as modern Western contexts do not place as high a value on it. Rather, loyalty to family is shown much more evidently through father-son relationship. In the Odyssey, Telemachus is a truly heroic and noble person as he adheres to Xenia by being a polite, good host to the disrespectful suitors. He also greets Athena, disguised as Mentes, and relieves her at once of her long bronze spear, telling her to have supper first. In contrast to Telemachus' respect for Xenia, both Odysseus and Ulysses violate the laws surrounding it. In the Odyssey, many people show hospitality to Odysseus, such as Princess Nausicaa, yet Odysseus is the ultimate bad guest when he blinds the Cyclops in his own house. Similarly, in the animation, Ulysses kills the robotic Cyclops in his own residence to save his son. Ulysses' son Telemachus is much younger in the animation. Telemachus and Ulysses have a much closer, loving, and loyal relationship compared to in the Odyssey. There are many moments where they are seen embracing when reuniting after being separated. Telemachus acts as paternal motivation for Ulysses, and when he gets kidnapped in episode 1 by monks of the Cyclops cult, Ulysses' loyalty is demonstrated when he puts his life in danger to rescue him. His actions show a love and loyalty that are not as present in the Odyssey. The relationship between gods and men in ancient Greece was as important as Xenia, and quite normal, as gods possessed human-like characteristics. The Odyssey shows the power the gods have over mortals. Athena, Zeus and Hermes guide Odysseus on his journey. However, gods like Poseidon, who make Odysseus's journey home 10 years long, show how their power, if angered, can easily punish mortals. The relationship with the gods in Ulysses 31 is more distant and violent. Zeus turns Ulysses' crew into stone and prevents him from returning home. The representation of the gods in Ulysses 31 as evil and manipulative do not show the full extent of their divine nature. The mix of technology and gods in space creates an odd interaction and somewhat physical barrier between them. Odysseus is an epic hero who is morally complex, flawed, and emotional. He possesses extraordinary abilities, supreme intelligence, and received guidance from the gods, which Ulysses does not. Ulysses is a very two-dimensional character. He is a superhero with superpowers, not an epic hero. Both characters are brave. They fight monsters and gods and are faithful to their family. They never give up on returning home, no matter the difficulties thrown at them. While Odysseus relies on his intelligence to conquer his problems and the help of Athena, who disguises him as an old man when returning home, Ulysses is not seen to resolve problems with careful thinking, rather with the assistance of technology and his trusty lightsaber. Leadership is explored in both the Odyssey and Ulysses 31, but many questions are raised as to whether Odysseus' leadership style and strategies were effective. Odysseus never gave up on getting back home and looked out for his crew. However, he had affairs with goddesses and miscommunicated with his crew about monsters they may encounter and the potential consequences of their actions. Odysseus was arrogant and ignorant, which was his downfall, and his inability to lead well led to the death of all his men. Because Ulysses is a superhero, he needs to be perceived as a good man and leader by young people. In contrast, Ulysses manages to do something that Odysseus could not do, which was bring all members of his crew home safely. I think Ulysses 31 was an interesting, new, and advanced style of animation for its time. It brought about a new way in which people of the 20th century learn and engage with the 2,000-year-old epic, the Odyssey, because it incorporates elements seen in Star Wars and Greek mythology, which I find fascinating. Although Ulysses 31 does not have complex characters or highlight Xenia, this type of cartoon targets children in the Western context. The main characters and gods reflected some dark and violent moments in Odysseus' and Ulysses' journey, and the use of sound, animation, and music is used to present the story. Ultimately, Ulysses 31 is an amazing adaptation for people who like Greek mythology, sci-fi, and cool tunes, especially the theme song.